Would I actually be able to get a job after my master's?
I got my master's degree in late 2024, and I've been unemployed ever since.
Master's degrees are a massive waste of time and money if you don't know what you're going to do with it.
Your UK master's degree will not get you a sponsored job, and companies only care about one thing, and that's if you can solve the problem that they're currently facing.
What we just saw is actually a very common experience for a lot of international students who come to the UK. And even before I moved here, the biggest question on my mind was, would I actually be able to get a job after my master's? Let's rewind. I did my UK master's degree about 3 years ago in business management at Loughborough University. At that time, I was an international student from Jamaica. Before that, I had never even been to Europe. Fast forward to today, I've been living and working in the UK for the past few years, and I've seen how different the experience can be depending on the person and the situation. So in this video, I want to answer one simple question. Was my UK master's degree actually worth it? Because the truth is, what universities sell you before you come and what you actually get after graduation can be two very different things. If you're new here, hi, my name is Matthew. I'm a former medical doctor from Kingston, Jamaica, and a few years ago, I moved to the UK to do my master's degree and transition into the business world. So in this video, I want to break down from the point of view of an international student, why I decided to do a UK master's in the first place, what the actual experience was like when I got here, what happened after graduating, and then finally, was it all worth it? So we're also going to answer questions that a lot of people ask before they even come here. Things like, how many people from my course actually get jobs after graduation? How many people get visa-sponsored roles? And how many people have to go back to their home country? So if you're someone thinking about studying abroad or just trying to figure out your next career move, consider subscribing because that is a lot of what I share on this channel. Chapter 1. Why I did my UK Masters. So, to understand whether this was actually worth it, you first need to understand why I decided to go to the UK in the first place. Now, I actually have a more in-depth video breaking this down completely, but to summarize it here, at that point in my life, I was trying to transition out of medicine. I had already spent years to become a doctor, but now I didn't want to continue down that path and wanted to do something that wasn't the traditional pathway for a doctor. So I started to look for ways to essentially reset and move into something completely different. So that's where the idea to do a master's came about in the first place. First, why the UK specifically? For me, the UK gave something that I couldn't really get back home, which was access to a completely different set of opportunities. In the UK, the job market is bigger, there are more industries, and essentially there are a lot more non-clinical roles within healthcare and just a lot more things outside of medicine that I could have done. But for me, one of the biggest draws at the time was the UK graduate visa. So if you didn't know, the UK graduate visa allows you to work after you finish studying without needing sponsorship for 2 years in the UK after you finish your degree. So knowing that I could study and then stay for 2 years to build experience made the whole process feel a lot more realistic, because I thought at least it would give me time to try and figure things out. So the second reason was why I chose business management specifically, and I've also explained this more deeply in another video, but to summarize it, in order to ease my transition out of medicine, studying business felt like the most practical option at the time. I wanted to learn the basics of finance, accounting, marketing, how things actually operated in a business world, and I also wanted a clean slate, something that would have allowed me to reposition myself, especially in a new country, in a new field. So most importantly, I thought it would give me a pathway into non-clinical roles, which is what I was aiming for at the time. And then finally, why did I pick Loughborough University? Now, I'll be honest, this one wasn't purely about the academics. A big part of my decision was also the sport of badminton. So at the time and currently, Loughborough has one of the strongest badminton programs in the UK, and that was something that I wanted to be a part of. But alongside that, it's also a really well-ranked university with good facilities and decent career prospects. So at the time, I felt like it was a pretty solid choice. With the facilities, the environment, and the UK opportunities here, it just sort of made sense for what I was trying to do at the time. So choosing to do my master's is one thing, but what you actually get out of it is something completely different. Chapter 2, the reality of the experience. And this is the part that most universities don't really talk about. What the experience is actually like once you get here. So let's break this down into sections. First, academics. Did I learn anything? So starting with the academics, I'll be completely honest and transparent. This part was a bit underwhelming for me. Now, to be fair, I did get a basic introduction to all the core assets of business. So for finance, marketing, operations, I did get a decent foundation. And lucky enough at the time, I was also working on a small business back home. So I could sort of apply what I was learning on a day-to-day basis. But overall, a lot of it was quite theoretical. There wasn't really a huge aspect of practical application beyond the occasional group project or presentation. And a lot of the real learning honestly came on studying on your own. So while it did give me a base, I wouldn't say that the academics alone were enough to justify the entire experience. The second thing is career support. Did the university actually help me? So when we're moving on to career support from the university, again, I'll say it was decent, but nothing exceptional. So you do get the basics, things like CV workshops, guidance on application, and some support in strengthening your CV. But beyond that, honestly, a lot of it is self-directed. You have to be proactive. You have to go out and apply, network, and figure things out by yourself. And if we're being really honest, most of what they teach around CVs and job applications, you definitely can learn this on your own online. So while they did help a bit, it's definitely not something you can rely on. The third thing is the job market, the reality of sponsorships and visas. Now this is where things get a bit more real. You will probably hear people say that the UK job market is really tough right now. And honestly, that is not an exaggeration. So when we look at this stat from the Migratory Observatory at the University of Oxford, only 4% of international students on a study visa in 2023 switched to a skilled worker visa by the end of 2024. And even for me, coming from a background in medicine and having some work experience, I was getting hundreds of rejections. I was applying to pretty much everything that I could, and honestly, I still was getting almost nowhere. So when people say how competitive it is, I completely understand. And this is where your expectations versus the actual reality of it really starts to show. Because the university can only support you to a certain extent, but when it comes down to actually getting a job, especially one that gives visa sponsorship, most of that responsibility is definitely just going to be on you. The fourth thing is the student outcomes. What actually happened to people? And this brings me to probably the most important part. What actually happened to the people around me after graduation? So off the bat, from what I saw, the majority of students in my class were international students. I'd easily say 80 to 90% of them were, and a lot of them already had the plan to go back home after finishing. So getting a job in the UK wasn't the goal for everyone at all. But even among those who did want to stay, only a small amount of them actually managed to get jobs. From my own experience in my own class, which was around 80 people, I'd say only a handful that I personally knew ended up getting roles, and even fewer managed to secure jobs that led to skilled worker visas. So let's think about the numbers. Roughly, only probably 20% of them got any form of job. And then only a small portion of those were able to stay through visa sponsorship. Now, of course, this is just my personal observations. There's no data behind this, but it will give you a realistic sense of how competitive things actually are. And while my experience and those numbers might be quite discouraging, I don't think that's the full picture, because from what I saw, a lot of people weren't as proactive as they needed to be. And in a market like this, where everything is so competitive, you really need to be on point with your effort and just being really exceptional. Chapter 3. What happened after I graduated? So after everything I just said, you're probably wondering what actually happened to me after I graduated. And to be honest, my outcome was actually quite positive. But I want to say this from the start, that this wasn't an easy journey. and nothing that the UK promises is guaranteed. So what ended up happening to me was about halfway through my master's, I started to pick up a lot of part-time roles in health tech. And this was nothing crazy at the beginning. It was just a lot of smaller opportunities that I was building my skills on. And then eventually, one of these roles turned into a full-time job, which is where I'm actually working to this day. So from a visa point of view, I moved from the student visa to the graduate visa. And then later on, I negotiated and finally landed my skilled worker visa. So on paper, everything did work out for me. And honestly, I have to say I was very, very fortunate. Not only to be able to get a role while still studying, but then to move into a full-time offer straight after graduation. Especially in this job market, I was very fortunate for that. So that doesn't happen for most people. And I think for me, there were a couple things that I did that probably helped. The first thing that I did was I started really early. I didn't wait until graduations to start applying. So from quite early on, I was already trying to get experience. I was already applying to roles. I was already trying to get my foot in the door however I could. And the second thing was that I was really clear on what I wanted. I knew I wanted to stay in the UK and get a job. So everything I was doing up to that point was aligned to that goal. But even with that, I still have to be really honest and say that luck played a big role in this. Being in the right place, meeting the right people, getting the right opportunity at the right time. So if you're watching this, please know that that matters a lot more than people think. When I compared what happened to other people around me versus what happened to me, that's when the reality really hit. Because like I said earlier, most people in my course didn't get jobs straight away after graduation, and fewer got roles that would allow them to stay in the UK long term. And the thing is, a lot of them were actually trying really hard. They were applying, they were going to interviews, they were putting in the effort, but they still weren't getting the outcome that they wanted. So yeah, while things did work out for me, I don't want to make it seem like this is what normally happens, because the reality is, it is really, really difficult. Chapter 4, would I recommend it? So after everything that I've said, would I actually recommend someone to do a UK Masters as an international student? And to be honest, this is where things get a bit tricky, because on one hand, things really did work out well for me. I was really grateful for the opportunities that coming to the UK gave me. But at the same time, I can't honestly say I would recommend this route for most people. And that's basically based on everything that I experienced here. The academics, the level of career support, and especially the job market right now. When you combine all of that and then factor in how competitive it is to get a job in general, on top of that, you're an international student, and then you're looking for a job that needs to sponsor you. The reality is it's very difficult and it's not going to work out for the majority of people. The stats reflect that. My own experience reflects that. And what I saw happen to people reflects that. No, that doesn't mean it's impossible. There are definitely people who come to the UK, do really well and build great careers. But if your goal is to come and work in the UK, I think there's a key difference depending on the position that you're coming from. So if you're coming at an undergrad level, you have a lot more time. You can build experience, do internships, get into grad schemes, and that gives you a much higher chance of happening. But if you're coming to the UK for a one-year master's, especially without a lot of prior experience, you're basically trying to figure everything out in a really short amount of time. And I think that makes things a lot harder. So I think for me, there's no simple yes or no. It really depends on your situation, your experience, your goals, and how prepared you are before you get here. Because if you come here with a clear plan, you start early and you position yourself properly, there is a path that is proven to work. But if you come here thinking that the degree alone is going to open doors for you, then it's probably not going to work in the way that you expect. So yes, that was my experience doing a UK Master's degree as an international student. I don't regret it. It gave me amazing opportunities that completely changed the direction of my life. But at the same time, I also understand that it doesn't work like that for everyone. I think the most important thing is you just need to go into it with the right expectations. Because if your goal is to come to the UK to work and stay, that path can work. It's definitely not as straightforward as it's sometimes made out to be. So if you're watching this because you're in that position right now, trying to figure out whether you want to study abroad, switch careers, or just what your next career move should be, just know that you're not the only one thinking about it. I was in that same position a few years ago. And honestly, that's a big reason why I even started to make videos. So if you want to follow more on my journey, especially from medicine, moving to the UK, and figuring all of this out together, then feel free to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.